All right. Let's go see.
All right. So what am I doing here? I am doing a little photo walk again in Rosarito, using my Lumix GX85, GX80, GX7 Mark II, whatever it is in your part of the world. It is indeed a Micro Four Thirds camera, and I absolutely love it. I just came back from France taking pictures. I have a 9mm lens on it, f1.7. It's equivalent to an 18mm lens, which, funny enough, it's the same sort of field of view as the DJI Action 4, I believe is what I have here, which gives it basically the same perspective for like these walk and talk videos, and I love it. I just got out of the house. I didn't want to create new content per se, in the sense that to sit down, create it, and edit it, but I got to get better, and I got to find shortcuts and workflows on how to do what I need to do on it in order to streamline my workflow and not spend what I think it's an extra possibly hour and a half on something that I should be getting done, you know, in an appropriate time. I'm not an editor. I don't send my stuff out to get edited, whatever. But so I decided to go out and do a little photo walk, and with certain things in mind for this, and I'll tell you what those are here in a second. Mr. Fades, man, carne asada smells delicious. This is it. I'm gonna come back for some carne in a bit. All right, so one of the things that, and let me bring up my notes here, because I'm going to treat this a little more like a podcast instead of something that completely pertains to this photo walk. One of the things, the reason I did this photo walk is because I need to go out. I've been in my house all week. I've been doing things, and it is really just sort of me getting out and making photographs with my new gear. I just acquired this camera. I absolutely love it. Like I said, I just came back from France with it, and it as far as it being a travel camera and getting what I need out of it, that's just exactly what I need. The last step for me to figure out what this camera is about is going to be printing stuff up. And really seeing what ISO works. I took a lot of dark photos. Again, it's an f1.7 lens, so you know everyone's talking about Micro Four Thirds doesn't really work in low light, this, that, and the other. By the way, those last couple of pictures were overexposed, and I left them like that on purpose as a learning experience for me, and to shame myself that I need to check my settings and not be cocky every time I go out. I'm mostly an aperture priority unless I'm in some sort of complicated lighting setup, and it is I had it wide open with higher ISO, so the camera did what it could to get something within reason. So I had to kind of I left them in there, just like I messed up. It's overexposure, shame on me, and I need to learn it, and I need to not be so cocky with my settings. So I needed to, you know, I love the last thing I'm going to do is print make prints from the photos from this camera, and I don't think I can make super big prints, but I do think I can get some reasonable size prints, bigger than 8x10s, bigger than 8x12. I'm trying 9x16 or 9x something like that. That size photograph would be perfect for me, to print it up. And again, in low light, from what I saw on the monitors, this camera, the noise was acceptable to me. At ISO 3200, I believe I shot, maybe 6400. I got to go back and double check my settings on that. But one thing that I didn't like, that I couldn't figure out at first, because one, I didn't read the manual, two, I didn't look on YouTube, is my focusing. How do I focus properly on this camera? every time, and without it moving the focus point every time, because it has that option as a default. And I said, and I needed to go away and just basically focus on one point and me compose my shot after I focus. That's how I do it. I use back button focus, and that's my jam. The other little thing about the camera is that it's actually a little too small for my hands, in the sense that I'm always sort of pushing these buttons along as I carry it. I carry it, as you can see here, or you will be able to see, is I don't carry it around my neck. I carry it with a wristband, and I walk around with it in my hand so that I can shoot it at any given moment. So there it is right there. And also, I like shooting from the hip, and this is something that I'll talk about also here, about shooting from the hip and shooting without looking through the viewfinder or the monitor in the back. Let me jot that down from my notes here. So what am I doing here? There's a couple of things that I am doing here today. Again, like I said, first and foremost is just walk and get out of the house. I need to do that. There's just no two ways about that. You have to, as a photographer, if you're going to be any photographer, whether it's a street photographer, portrait photographer, whatever it is, you got to get out of the house. You got to get out and move and do things. And like anything else, your creativity button, your creativity juice, whatever it is a muscle, and it must be worked on constantly. And I haven't been doing that appropriately for actually probably the last 2 years. It's only been recently, within the last year, that I've been doing my own little photo walks. I've been doing this point of view, walking around sort of stuff within the last few months. And it really is I saw a podcast the other day where your eye is getting lazy. And it does, and it's again, your creativity is a muscle that must be exercised. And there was a thing there within the last since I started photography, I was shooting thousands of photographs a week, and it is I've always done that, whether I was shooting models, still lives, street photography of some kind, and bands. It was just a constant, always. Shoot, and that's what I love. It's who I am, and unfortunately the last couple of years I've had to slow down for a bunch of reasons, and I don't like it. And I'm in a situation right now where, like, you know what, I need to start from day one. I need to get this thing going, and I need to make this happen. And so I'm out here making these photographs of anything, and I'll get to that in a second here, of what it is that my other subreddit post, my other goals are when this photo walk goes. The thing is to walk. Again, I gotta get my pace up, and one of the things that I was really happy about, and you'll see when I walk this, I walked this trek before, walking around in what is the center part of Rosarito that includes the beach, and then kind of walking towards my house. And by the time I got to certain points, I was very happy to be in better shape than I was the last couple of times that I did it. From my legs feeling good, my feet, my heart, everything. I mean, I could have walked more, but at the end of the day, I decided to have a few beers and have a couple tacos, and I'm like, you know what, I can take the Uber home from here, and I did. So we're learning the gear again. I'm learning this new camera, and by the end of this photo walk, I'm like even more in love with this camera and that lens. It is really a lightweight camera. It makes a lot of difference, and especially with the gear that I was carrying around. I carried around the smaller Ulanzi bag that I have, and as opposed to my big DJ bag that I carried around in France. And it's lighter. I don't carry as much things, obviously, that I was in France, because I was afraid of certain things, this, that, and the other. and it makes for a better walk. And I didn't think that I would mind carrying around the tripod, but in this case, I think next time I will carry around a tripod, because I have certain ideas that I want to do with street photography, and just overall things that I imagine what street photography is going to be about, and we'll get to my thoughts on street photography here in a second as well. Again, I'm just treating this whole little thing as a podcast because I didn't really do anything special on this walk. I just went around and took photographs, and that's what I want to talk about here. One of the things that I miss about being a cringy beginner photographer, and I think people do not talk about this enough, and I had a friend that I spoke with who really got me into photography, and he's kind of seen my arc from being a know-nothing rookie to him teaching me the ropes and the basics and the philosophies of beginning photography to being turning into the artist. I think that I'm slowly think that I'm converting myself into, to where now the camera, I can do a lot of the things with the camera that I can see in my head, and that's the important part, is being able to see the photograph first, visualize it, and then be able to make it, because you make a photograph once you start thinking about it that way instead of taking a snapshot. Okay, but one of the things that I miss as a beginner is our ability to not have that filter of being self-conscious and taking a picture of everything and thinking that it's somehow a work of art. I think you know what I'm talking about. We go through our arc and we start to cringe a little bit as far as, God, I can't believe this. I thought this was good at any point. And now I'm at the arc where I'm done through that process, and I'm back to where, like, I wish I could photograph like a child again. We get too self-critical, and this is one of the things that bothers me with these other photo channels, is that they do these POV photo walks, and sometimes they make these decent photographs, but they're extremely critical of themselves. And you know, we can ponder the reasons and guess the reasons as to why all that is happening, right? What the agenda is for self-deprecation, whether it's legitimately self-criticism or self-critiquing, or if it's another agenda, right? Like, insert your whatever you think is happening there, right? But we need that. I think that, you know, Picasso once says is that I learned an entire lifetime how to draw like a child again. You know, it's one of these things where one of these traits that we have that we should never lose. There's a lot of photography classes that you take in high school, even in beginning photography in college, where you take pictures of your grandmother's hands and you think that they're absolutely amazing, and then you go through your arc where, like, man, that was cringy, I can't believe that I thought that. But now it's like, no, it is amazing. For many reasons it's amazing. The reason that street photography is also an integral part of what it is that we do as photographers. It's just a small part, but it's important. Why? Because you took a picture of your grandmother when she was still with us. You know, that's documentary work. That is, at the very least, a memory that you have for yourself. It doesn't have to speak to everybody. Probably just the circle of people that it touches is just probably your family. But you'll see that, you know, if it's a decent photograph, it'll still trigger memories for other people as well. Taking pictures of silly things like rocks, coat hangers, the trolley, my guitar when I was in beginning classes. I was taking pictures of myself. I was posing like John Coltrane. One of the assignments was to make a self-portrait of ourselves. And there's this beautiful portrait of John Coltrane in the blue tone by one of the great jazz photographers, his album cover, and it looks like he's pondering, he's thinking. Well, I wanted that for myself. So instead of having a saxophone around my neck, I put my little camera around my neck and I took a self portrait of myself thinking also like that, and it's cringe. It's really like I look at it and I'm like, man, that is fucking terrible, but it's necessary. And we had that lack of filter, that lack of self-awareness that allowed us to freely create everything, you know. And so now we're in a situation, now I'm in a situation where I want that again. We went through the arc like, oh, I'm not even going to take my camera here because, you know, there's probably nothing going to be worthy of taking pictures, or there's, you know, the light's not going to be right, or I don't have this, there's nothing there. And to the point where like, man, I should have had my camera with me 24/7 in a lot of instances, and I let a lot of good photographs go because I was very self-conscious and maybe just flat out arrogant that I've seen through a lot of us go through. I mean, I have a few photographer friends that it seems like, you know, we are very self-critical, and at one point maybe even too arrogant to photograph. And I think that is something that it's an part of the arc in our artistic journey that we need to get rid of. It really is a bad thing to go through, and if I can reach somebody out there that's at the beginning stages of like, you know what, that's a bad shot, that's this, that, and the other, you know, it's one of the rules, is one of my rules of photography. Rule number 1 is take the lens cap off. Rule number 2 is take the lens cap off, and rule number 3 is take a picture of everything regardless of anything, because a bad picture is something that is better than no picture or nothing. You know, that's one of the things if I can just somehow reach through somebody and say, dude, just carry your camera around, take shitty pictures, show them, who cares, you know, do it, because at the end of the day there's something of value in that to you. You know, you made a bunch of pictures and it took you a fraction of a second to decide that this was a decent enough frame at that time. And what you need to do is go back and dissect, and you can even look as an internal and go, you know what, why did that mean so much to me? What was I'm trying to capture at this point? And then you question your frame, you question your composition, you question your photograph, and then it wasn't a waste. And then you learned something. Then you decided, okay, that's what I was trying to do. I think I can do that better. Let's go out and shoot again. All right, so back to what I was trying to do here. All I'm interested in doing here, with that thought in mind, as far as not giving myself any sort of boundaries or constraints, I'm trying to take pictures of everything. You've already seen that shitty picture I took of that truck that wasn't even in focus. I'm still working on using my gear, and I love shooting from the hip, and that's something that I need to talk about here. I've mentioned that. I'll talk about it in a second here. But what I want to do is, and I'm showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly in this. There are terrible photographs here. There's one or two that I like, but I'm showing it all because, again, I am internalizing the photographs. I'm saying, okay, this is what I needed to do, and it could just be a technical standpoint. Like, man, I had my camera on ISO 1600. It was wide open, like in the beginning of the shots, and I never checked my settings. I need to do that for next time so that I get the right colors and the right exposure that I want, and not halfway through the proverbial digital roll, if you will. All I'm doing here is looking for color, shape, form, composition. Nothing too crazy. I just want to, again, use this camera and start composing using just the thought of color. And I walk down this street, and you can see that the light is hitting at sunset, it's hitting that wall really nice. And I love the colors and the graffiti. And it's not that I'm into graffiti, I'm just into the splashes of color. in the morning I need to go back and take the side of the street I'm on and take the opposite side so that I get a morning light on that wall. I went to the Tunnel of Tuileries in Paris, France, and there's a lot of great graffiti in there, but it's sort of art that I don't appreciate as much as I should, even though that I grew around it growing up as a kid. There was graffiti all around, and there was good stuff and there was terrible stuff. I mean, and even stuff like the movie Beat Street. I believe that's the name of the movie, Beat Street. It has a lot to do with hip-hop and graffiti in there as well. So it was really, I'm not completely foreign. Graffiti isn't foreign to me, and I'm not at all uncomfortable shooting it, but there's a lady in New York that's been photographing graffiti for a long time, and she's in that culture, and it's funny because it seems like a contradiction, but she gets along with all the graffiti artists, and they know who she is, and they know that she's the one documenting this work for them, and it looks really good, and it's published, and that's one of the beautiful things that they do, that a good photographer can do when they're obsessed with something. And I'm just not obsessed with graffiti enough to be able to appreciate it as much as maybe I should. But that's probably I'm probably going to keep shooting it. But it's not for the art itself, but for the color and the shape and the form that it has, and how I can manipulate my camera in order to capture something with it. If it works, it works. If not, not. Again, I'm just looking for color, form, and shape, and absolutely no boundaries as far as like, I see these trash cans, let me shoot them. I see this, and again, going back to the mentality of a beginner photographer, saying that, shooting everything and anything is valid. Even walking through here and looking at the video right now, I can see that I should have shot a lot more of these shadows and the way that the light was hitting during this time of day. It is, I see it now, and I didn't see it then, and I need to go back and be able to shoot a lot of things. But I do like that I decided to shoot a lot of the sky, the streamers, and things like that. I'm not looking to shoot, again, this is a tourist sort of part of town. A lot of people come here to go to the beach or go to these clubs, and it's a party town. Rosarito, it really is a party town, and I need to go back here often. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This part of the neighborhood is about maybe 10 blocks at most of bars, parking lots, beach activities that can happen, and during some time, during certain times of the year, especially summer, it's crazy. These streamers up here, I think, are still up from the Baja Fest that happened almost a month ago when I shot this, which was on the 20th of September in the year of our Lord 2025. So with that in mind, there's still residue of that party atmosphere, party culture that exists here in Rosarito. But what I need to do is go here more often, and this is one of the things that I've talked about before, shooting in what it means to be a street photographer in a small town sort of thing, to where shooting in Paris was easy. There's people everywhere. It is what it is, and there's beautifully dressed people everywhere. Shooting in New York, street photography is easy. You can set up a chair in a corner and get great street photography by doing absolutely nothing. Some people in New York hardly step out of their own neighborhoods. I just watched one of the walkie-talkies with Polly, and the guys, they talk about where they shoot, and a couple of them go, I don't step a foot outside my neighborhood except once in a while. I never go to the Bronx. I never go to this borough. I never go to that borough. So in a sense, that just justifies how easy it is to shoot in your borough, despite it being one of the bigger cities in the world. So with that kind of mentality, you can shoot. I can pretend that Rosarito is a little borough of a bigger city, and I need to go out and treat it as such. Like I should go out and walk these same blocks over and over and over again to do a couple of things. To familiarize myself with the environment as a whole, with the culture as a whole, walk down the same street over and over again and find a different image and force myself to find a different image, because at the end of the day you kind of have to feel passionate about your neighborhood in order to be a decent street photographer, in my opinion. It's rare that you can go anywhere in the world and not know the culture and take a legitimate photograph. They're out there, but unless you know what to look for, you're not going to get that quote-unquote overused word decisive moment, you know. So going back to the same spot over and over again and walking and doing the things is not a bad idea. The other thing I think that happens is what I mentioned in my photo walk from Playas de Tijuana about a year ago, is that you have to allow for the people around you, especially like the people that are there all the time, the business people, this, that, and the other. They have to eventually know who you are and feel comfortable with you walking around with a camera and say like, oh man, that guy's here all the time. Yeah, what do you do? And I'm like, you know, and you get into a conversation, and then slowly but surely you can make images of people, and whether you want to call them portraits or not, that's up to you. But if you want to again focus more on people and allow them to be comfortable with you with a camera and shooting at least in their direction, because we live in a different world, unfortunately. Street photography isn't what it used to be. Nowadays, you walk around with a camera and you start taking pictures. Everybody is very self-conscious and very sort of, yes, you're in public. And we have to talk about how private people are now compared, in my case, justifiably so, because of certain things that happen in this day and age. So people are more guarded with their lives, and to be honest, with their children as well. Even though that this is sort of an adult-oriented sort of place, as you can see, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of families walking around. The adult stuff really starts happening when the sun goes down. But this area is not like New York, in a sense to where New York, you get people going to and from work, going to and from running errands, whatever it is that they're doing, shopping, visiting a friend or something like that. While there is a tourist element to certain spots in New York, what you get here that is different from shooting in New York is you got a lot of people that don't live here, that are here visiting. They're tourists. They came to have fun. They didn't come to be part of somebody's weird art project, in the sense of, hey, this is what I want, you know, this is I didn't come here to be photographed. And certainly I didn't come here to be photographed being a silly ass drunk, which is what's going to happen at certain points. I have to really feel comfortable at one point to go out here and shoot this at night during a party scene with my camera and doing things that will allow me to photograph people in a more, let's just say, relaxed state, which would be a very valid and more, let's just say, more of the point of this area, photographing people having a lot of fun, let's just say. From the beach all the way up to the boulevard there. So this is, you know, the thing where, and Pauly has a lot of other photographers who talk about living in places that are not New York or Los Angeles, or Paris, that allow for not as much, for a different style of street photography. Because what you're doing here is you're out trying to create art in a certain, or whether you're just documenting or creating art, it doesn't matter. You're making something that is only reflected by your environment. You can only shoot what you are given as a photographer. It's very rare to be able to make something completely out of nothing as a photographer. Most of the time you have to be in the moment. You have to be there in order to make the photograph. You can't go home and draw it like an artist can. You have to be there, make sure your camera's in the right settings, and you have to be there to click the trigger, right? That's what you're there for. That you can only shoot what you're given. But at the same time, you have to go out there and do it. You can't really have the excuse of, well, I don't live in New York, I can't do street photography. And this is one of the things that I have to get over as well. I don't live in New York. I live in a small beach community that just so happens to have a lot of people during certain times of the year and during certain times of the day, during certain times of the week. I can go back here on a Tuesday and there's going to be no one here in winter. It'll just be me and my camera walking around with just a little bit of locals enjoying the day. So this is essentially what I'm trying to train myself to do for when I do go to places like Paris, New York, or even LA, or even if I go to make a day trip and go up to San Diego, I can walk around with my camera and make photographs and feel like a target-rich environment, if you will. And that's really something that it takes, again, training. You need to look for the things that are given to you and be able to make photographs of it. And really, it's not that hard, to be quite honest with you. I'm out here walking around, and there's just so many things to make photographs of. But back to my point about being out in the community, you got to let people feel comfortable of you. I'm a big guy. It's hard to miss me, and it's hard to kind of, in a certain way, and this could be just a misperception of myself, but I believe that when people look at me and they see my size and they see what I look like, it's going to be hard for them to figure out that this guy is a wannabe artist and that this guy wants to do certain things with his work that may or may not involve me, that do not have malicious intent. That's kind of I think a weird thing to say and a weird thing to think, but I can completely understand how people can be, guarded of me, wary of me, suspicious, of a person that looks like me trying to make a photograph of just sort of or make at least a composition of them being in it without them knowing what it is that I took, and that they have no idea. And in a sense that's fair to them. However, there's other certain expectancies, I think, that you have to have when you're in public. I understand that not everybody understands their rights as a photographer. The rights as a one of the funny things is the rights as for privacy in public are very similar to the United States. You're in public, you have no real sort of rights to photography or photograph, or you can be, if you're out in public, you're fair game, basically, right? That's not the case in Paris, in France. If the person is in your photograph, they have a right to ask for compensation or ask to be. They have rights. Whoever you photograph that's in the picture has a right to that photograph, not the photographer, which I found to be crazy. But I think that maybe places like New York might be thinking about things like that, because so many people are photographed out in public that are in, let's just say, pieces of artwork that may or may not be sold by the artist, and the artist makes money from it, but they don't even know that the picture could not have been made without them. I think it's a weird line to talk about, but I think that there is definitely there's a right to privacy, and there's ethics involved for sure, and there's courtesy involved, which I think are two different things. But there are certain things that we need to consider, and I think especially with children, you have to allow the parents to be protective of their children, regardless of how good of a piece of art you've made, especially if it's without their consent. And regardless of whether they're in public or not, I think that is definitely something that needs to be thought of at the very least, and taken into consideration when you make photographs of people in public. Adults, to me, they're fair game. You're there, I'm there. Let's make it happen. Let's create art, sort of thing, right? So, whether you want to or not. The points that I wanted to break out here, as I want to segue into these thoughts about street photography here, I did want to go into that here a little bit, because I think I'm going to cool down here with the pictures on my video, because I think I'm actually... Hold on, let me just talk about this before I go into my thoughts on street photography and the philosophy. What street photography has done for me lately is discover the mundane, or discover the already known things. What do I mean by that? I've lived in Rosarito for the last 5.5 years. I have known about Rosarito damn near my entire life, which is going on 50 years. I've known about Tijuana damn near my entire life, going on 50 years. I live in San Diego. And one of the things, my point is, in Rosarito, after doing these photo walks, I didn't know that there was this market. There's this entire market right behind the boulevard, right down in here, that I had no idea, one, that it existed, or that two, it was as big as it was, and three, that it might actually have some tourist things that I want to buy when it comes to Christmas time. There's a couple of things that I saw there for sure that I'm like, oh my god, I need those. Including, there's a couple of pieces of artwork right here that are very interesting, to say the least. I don't think that they're collectibles just yet, but they're interesting. There's a couple of dresses that I like, that I have ideas for models that I want to buy and dress the models up as. There's ideas for other things as well. There's a lot of little from little tourist keychain things to stickers to piñatas and lots of candy. There's even people speaking their native language here, Nahuatl. I think it's what they were speaking. It's a guess, to be honest with you, but they were full on in full language mode. A lot of bags, and this whole area I would not have discovered unless I was walking in Rosarito, and unless I was doing my street photography. And this is one of the things that I always talk about, as far as what does it mean to be a photographer. And my problem with people getting into photography, one, to make money, or two, to make instant art and have their work immediately approved and viewed by everyone. I think that is absolutely crazy. Your first thing in photography, and you're going to get lost, and this is what happens a lot. I see a parallel with, because I also play guitar, and I've had a lot of people ask me, what kind of guitar should I buy, what kind of things should I do with the guitar. And it's the exact same questions I get with what kind of camera should I get, what kind of things should I do with the camera. And it really all boils down to this, really, is the fact that if you don't have a passion for something, photography is not going to do you any good. The reason that I got into photography is because I love music and I wanted to photograph musicians. I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix. And because you learn very early on that you could never be Jimi Hendrix, you start to think about, I'm looking at all these photographs about Jimi Hendrix, and I start to think about, well, if I can't be Jimi Hendrix, I can take pictures of him. And that's how I got into photography, like Jim Marshall and Danny Clinch, to where, and I've said this story before, but I think it's worth repeating, to where once I found that passion for photography, once I already had the passion for music, but once I was able to use my camera to fuel that passion, photography is just becomes part of you, becomes an essential part. It is now your instrument. And so when a lot of kids were asking me, and what a lot of people, as I started really getting into photography, started asking me this, they would all go out and buy their cameras, they would all go out and buy their guitars, but very soon, if you don't have, like, quote unquote, a guitar hero or a favorite form of music that you want to play or emulate, you're going to get lost. There's no passion in it. And so because there's no passion, you easily let go of that hobby. And it goes along with any hobby, right? You have to have a passion for something in order for your tools to work for you. And this is part of what I love about photography, is that people that get into photography to quote unquote make money all of a sudden are selling their camera gear for cheap on eBay. And I've been able to, knock on wood, be successful at buying secondhand stuff. That camera that I'm using right now is secondhand, and it is absolutely just an amazing camera to use. With guitars as well, I've been able to buy secondhand guitars that are just absolutely amazing, and ready to be straightened out, or then they just sound great. So in that sense, yes, this is what photography and music should do for you, is to get you into a mode to where you are passionate about it and you start to document everything. What does photography do to you once you have it? It's the movie, again, and I've stated this before and I'll say it again, from the movie The Devil's Advocate, right, with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino are talking about, the big climax at the end. Johnny's character, I believe, is Al Pacino is John Milton. He's the devil, he's Satan, and his son, I forget what his son, but Keanu Reeves' character asks him, why the law? Why are you using the law to basically do what the devil does? And his answer is very simple: because the law gets you into everything. It does. What the law does is, from sports to contracts to marriage to corporate law, the law gets you into everything. And this is exactly what the camera does to you. It gets you into everything once you have a passion for it, and once you realize what your skill set level is. You're not confounded by these laws of, like, I need people to like my pictures on this, or I need to make all the money shooting weddings or do this and that. You are now free to create at your will, and you're now in a documentary sort of artist form. Now you're free from everything. And while my music got me into photography, I've been able to create a sort of community with musicians and other artists and models and other sort of stylists and things like that you form bonds with, whether they're friendship bonds or artistical bonds. They're strong and exist. So what does photography do for me here? It allowed me to discover new things. In this instance, I've discovered this big little market that I never knew existed, that will allow me to go back. And if I keep going back and buying little things here and there, I'm going to be able to use my camera. If you notice right now, I didn't take a single picture of anything. I have my camera in my hand, but I'm just walking around with my video camera on my chest. It's just strapped there. It's very inconspicuous. I'm trying to, not make a big deal out of how I have my camera strapped onto my bag. But it is very, I just walk around. I don't make a big deal out of it. It's black. It'll if I had a black T-shirt, it would, quote unquote, would blend in better. So I'm able to walk around freely with both of my hands without holding anything, and people do not think that I am, in a weird sense, documenting them. But if I keep going back over and over again, because there's some very interesting people that we're talking about there that I would love to talk about, that I would love to say, hey man, what is this? How long you been here? This, that, and the other. Because nobody is really from Rosarito, right? There's very few people that are from here, and obviously they're locals, and they wouldn't be here per se. They would be on the other side of this boulevard living their lives. This boulevard, for the most part, cuts the city in touristical half, if you will. All the tourist stuff happens on this side of the boulevard, and all the local stuff tends to happen on the other side, with very few little crossovers here and there. So again, this photography has allowed me to discover these new places that otherwise I have no business being in, unless I'm shopping, unless I'm doing something, and unless, something else. For me, that's how I know that these places exist now, because of my camera. Your camera is just a tool. That's all it is. You already have the passion, or you should already have the passion for something. I'm watching in the background right now this cat who is really, the British guy who's really into landscape photography, and he's pretty good at it. I don't like every single snapshot that he takes, of course, but there's some photographs out there that are really great. He talked to us about it. It's informative. It's great to see him doing his thing in his cool little van. And what the bottom line is that he's passionate about landscapes. He's passionate, and you have to be passionate about nature. And that's what Ansel Adam was. He's a conservationist. That's why he took pictures of nature, because he loved it. And he told us that we need to conserve and take care of Mother Nature. So he made these amazing photographs to remind us how awesome nature is through his perspective, through his camera, through his brain, through his eyes, so that we can say, okay, that's worth preserving. And that's what happens with the camera, to where you have to be passionate about something. And when you're a street photographer and you're passionate about your city and your culture and wherever it is that you're at, it's going to show. And it doesn't matter how many likes and dislikes and how many people view or into it. You just kind of need to be creating on it. And one of the reasons that I went ahead and made this video and posted, even though it's probably super long and has very shitty photographs in it, is because I myself, one, need to practice my camera work and get my creative juices flowing again. Two, train my eye again, stop having a lazy eye. And three, needing to streamline the way that I publish it through, in this case, through this channel. And using my video work and very simple, on camera under the chest and working and things like that. So that's all very part of this. It's a learning process for me, and in the end, you absorb everything that you do, and you have to show it. So that's what I wanted to say as far as that little trek around that little market that we just went through. It's fair. As far as content goes, if it's educational to you in the sense to where, like, yeah, I need to go there, sure. But aside from a few other things in downtown Rosarito, I'm still looking for other things to do that I didn't know happened. So hopefully with my camera work and my other walks, I'm going to be able to discover those places as well. And the last thing that kind of wanted to get into this was my thoughts on street photography and how serious it really is, and what it is, and what's frustrating to me about some of these channels out there talking about what street photography is, and and this, that, and the other. I think street photography is one of the most overvalued and at the same time underappreciated forms of artwork that are out there. That's crazy to say, but let me clarify. I think it's overvalued by street photographers themselves. I think that they put a little too much value in their own work. I think that in my case, you know, I am still learning, but there's a lot of photographers that are putting work out there that are justifying every single snapshot that they take because they know that it's not, let's just say, as good as they wanted it to be, maybe as good as it was supposed to be in their head. There's a lot of photographers out there that pump up and hype up their own photography because they think that by doing so they're going to generate more, like, and convince people that it is, and generate more a following, or at least cheerleaders behind him, like, okay, well, I didn't see it, but if he's hyped about it, maybe I should be too. You know, things, and I hate to use the term, it's not like they're mediocre. I don't want to use that term and say, oh, this is, as I show you the shoot everything concept that I'm having here with these photographs in the background, that they are indeed just snapshots and the ability to shoot everything. I do think that there's a hype game happening behind the scenes about in overvaluing how street photography is. I don't think it's that serious. I don't think that it needs to be pigeonholed also to where, like, okay, this is, you know, this is street photography, this is documentary photography, this is journalism, this is photojournalism, this is that and the other. You know, at one point you're on the street with your camera, it's street photography. You have the same elements available to you, and whatever your point of view is, that's your point of view. That's how it's going to go, and that's the kind of picture that you're going to take. That said, it is a very underappreciated form of work by people who are not photographers, by people who don't see street photography as a form of art. And that's actually a little more frustrating, to where you see the stuff that Cartier-Bresson does, and you're like, oh yeah, that's obviously great work, this, that, and the other. But you might see something that another big name photographer, or even just underneath the big, let's just say, not top tier photographer, but you know, not the all-star player, but a team player, but still professional photographer. How somehow, and it's not fair to say, but something like maybe that Ouija was doing, or something that Eugene was doing, and it's a thing where we don't see those as a bigger form of artwork than they should be, in my opinion, and they're not seen that way, and that's a little frustrating, to where, like, dude, this is some great work doing even the stuff that Gildan is doing. I think I don't agree with everything that he does, but some of the things that he's doing there are bold, to say the least. I don't think we can argue about that. But it's artwork, and it is crazy. And if you want to just take it as a documentary sort of form, then in and of itself it should stand on its own and go, okay, well, maybe he's not an artist, but he's a fucking damn great documentarian, and that's fair to say as well. And I don't think that that's as appreciated and spoken about in artistic circles as, you know, you're talking about Picasso, Monet, Manet, Van Gogh. You got these guys with doing out real work, real blue-collar work that aren't being appreciated like they should be. And some of these YouTubers are, I think, on the verge of doing it, but we might be too concerned with making content instead of making decent work. We might be shooting for someone and not for ourselves, in a lot of people. And I think that this landscape guy that I'm having in the background, and I forget what his name is, let me see if I can look it up here real quick. He's Thomas Heaton. I love that it seems like he's shooting for himself, and he's talking about the photography, and he's talking about his journeys, and I love that. That's absolutely fair. But we need to be wary, and at the end of the day, you know, another one of my sayings is that photography ain't that serious until it is, and we need to kind of look at photography in that way, and be able to use it to create art and think about it as a brush, and be able to, you know, not take ourselves too seriously, but when the time comes to make a serious statement of something, you have the tools to do it, because you've already shot thousands and thousands of pictures of nothing, of everything, of just garbage, in order to hone your skills.
I don't want to.
There's this channel, I think her channel is a camera noob, and she does, lately she's doing a lot of camera conspiracy theories and things like that, and I love her sense of humor, I love her channel. And one of the last things that she's talking about is about street photography. I won't say too much about it. I think you guys should watch everything she does, because I think it's hilarious. But one of the things that we need to be careful of is salesmen talking to us about art and how to make art. And what we need to realize is there are a lot of people making a lot of channels on photography that have no business talking about the art. You can sell me the gear and tell me all the technical specs I need to know about the gear as how I'm going to use it. You need to kind of think about it like this. If there's the people that make the race car, and there's the people that the race car drivers, the pilots. There's the people that make the airplanes, and then there's the pilots, the engineers, the people that work behind the scenes in order to make these incredible machines are one aspect of it, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to win races. They don't know how to shoot bogeys out of the sky. You know, they don't know how to make art. They just have the technical aspects. And that's not to say that they can't, but all you gotta do is look at their portfolio and what it is that they're doing. And a lot of times what we have is a lot of people working to make content and not working to make art. That's something that obviously I don't think I'm ever going to have an issue with. Nobody watches this channel. It's just me and my friends that may want to watch this. I'm going to get a total of maybe, if I get 10 views on this, it's going to be great. But we need to keep that in mind. Who is giving you this information? And a lot of the times it's funny is the Canadians are the ones that are guilty of it. You need to watch the channel or the episode. It's very cool.
Money before.
And the last thing I want to talk about is shooting from the hip. What does it mean when you just point your camera out there? And believe it or not, I'm very good at it. The shots that I showed in this roll are not very good. They're out of focus and the composition's wrong. But when I have my other cameras, I know what the field of view is. I have everything already set up to. I know where it's going to, just by holding it in my hand. I know how it's going to work. I know how it's going to, I know fairly good what the composition is. So it's not luck. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Once you get to know your gear, it's not luck. You can shoot from the hip, be okay, and shoot what you need to shoot.
And see what happens.
But it takes practice. They just take practice. So thanks a lot for sticking around, looking at this. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I said something that made sense to you. Take it easy and enjoy your youth.